everyone, HisRoyalFatness here, and welcome back to the channel. In today's how to play video, I'm going to be showing you 4 consecutive battles in the Object 263, where I break down my thought process and the decisions I make in regards to this vehicle to help you out as players. Now let's discuss the Object 263, because I think this tank has one of the worst nicknames of any tier 10 vehicle, aka the YOLO wagon. Well, why is it called the YOLO wagon? That's because people have this misconception that this vehicle is great at YOLOing. This is wrong. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, is that you should never, ever YOLO like an idiot in the Object 263. You just can't do that. You have amazing DPM and mobility and an okay armor profile, yes. So use it intelligently. You're an amazing support vehicle and you're great at pushing with your team. So when I play this vehicle, I like to make calculated pushes. And what is the difference between a calculated push and a YOLO? It's quite simple. With a calculated push, you analyze the game, you see what's going on around you, you know the risk of the push, what could go wrong, and how it can play out as a result. Now with a YOLO, you just don't care, you just push in because you have DPM and you shout Russia. No, that's not how it works. Now with that out of the way, let's just discuss the equipment real quickly I am running on this vehicle. This is what I like in the Object 263 right now. Of course, equipment's always subjective to you as a player, and with that out of the way, let's jump into the first battle. Okay, so for this first game, we are going to be on Alpenstats, and one thing I need to mention about the Object 263 is that you only have 4 degrees of gun depression, right? So fighting in hilly terrain is a no-go. You're not going to have a good time. Instead, I prefer to take this vehicle into the town environment, a relatively flat environment where I can play more comfortably. So for this battle, I'm going into town. But I'm not going to push too aggressively. I see my heavy tanks are coming with me. I'm not going to push up until I know they have support on me. Now, I noticed that they probably would have tanks going into C-cap, which is why I pre-aimed there just in time to hit that KPFZ 70 when he's pushing into the cap. And now I'm just going to pre-aim him. Why? Well, he might poke on me after he gets the cap, and I don't know where the enemy team is. Why would I push out into an unknown situation? There's just no point in that. Instead, let's play a little bit patiently here. Wait to see what happens, and of course, I get a little surprised when this KPFZ 70 pushes out on me. I put a nice shot into him, and I'm going to push back, but I notice behind me, there's an E5 pushing up, and I don't want to put myself in a crossfire, so I realized my best option is to push forward and start farming these tier 9 heavy tanks. And now I see an opportunity for a calculated push. This KPFZ 70 here, he's distracted by my teammate, he's completely isolated, has 0 support, so I go in for the push, I max roll, get a ram, we're going to do over 1,000 damage here in a couple of seconds, we're going to shoot him again, and this is a calculated push, right? So I knew what was going on around me. I know they have a lot of tanks in the encounter cap, they have a KPFZ 70 in C cap, and this man was completely isolated, so I went for the push there. Now the reason I'm not pushing forward here is if I tried pushing on the KPFZ 70 in C cap, I would putting myself at risk of a crossfire. Instead, I realized the E5 is pushing behind my team. He is isolating himself from the majority of his team, so now I see another opportunity to push in. So as I'm sure you've already noticed, just from the first few minutes of this battle, I'm always analyzing what is going on around me in this game to find the targets that I can push on effectively, right? And you may say, oh, I YOLO the KPFZ 70, but in my opinion, that was not a YOLO, that was definitely a calculated push, and we're going to do the same thing on this E5. I knew I was going to get shot there, but I'd rather pick up the kill on this heavy tank, and now we're in a great spot. So I have a tank destroyer with me. I'm sorry, not a tank destroyer, a camping heavy tank who's going to cover me well, and I can see he's going to distract this 263 here, so I can now easily start focusing this 263. We're just going to pull back here so he can't get an easy shot on me. Now, one of the worst parts about the Object 263's gun armor profile is the gun mantlet. As you can see, he goes straight through the gun mantlet. I go straight through the gun mantlet. It's definitely the biggest weakness on this tank. Any vehicle with a decent amount of penetration will absolutely butter the gun mantlet on this vehicle, especially if you have good AP or APCR pen. It has the ability to be troll. You can bounce maybe 40% of the shots you hit on that mantlet, and then some battles you can bounce a lot more, and some games you'll bounce 0. So don't trust in the gun mantlet at all. Just assume you're always going to get penned there when you play this vehicle. I'm trying to pick up a kill on this Progetto 65, not 46, sorry, 65, and we're going to pick up a kill on him, and this game was pretty fast. We did 5,000 damage here. It is crazy how effective this tank can be when you play it intelligently, right? So I was always pushing onto tanks intelligently during this battle and seeing which vehicles are isolating themselves from the team. If no one isolated themselves in this battle, I would have played it very passively indeed, and maybe I would not have farmed as much damage. Now, I was going to kill the KPFZ-70 there, but the E100 finishes him off, and I know the Jagdpanzer just shot the E100, which tells me which direction the Jag is looking, and that means I am perfectly safe to push up behind this Jag and start farming him. So that is what we're doing here. We are just using the fantastic top speed on this tank. It goes, I believe, 50 kilometers an hour, a very fast tank destroyer, and it definitely can get up there. And I'm going to start tracking this Jagdpanzer E100 just to keep him in place, right? Just to make his day a little bit more difficult. My teammates will easily be able to farm him, and that way the Jag can't look over at me and just shoot me. So we track him there again. He's going to get shot once more by the E100, and I am going to pick up the kill here. Easy game indeed, over 6,000 damage, exactly what you should be doing in the 263. So this was my first game. I was very happy with it, and then we had a second game, which is a little bit questionable. So for this second battle, let's just say this is a great example of how not to play the Object 263 and why you need to be a little bit more aware of what your team is doing. Okay, so we're going to be on vineyards for this game, and I'm pushing straight into the town because once more, I want to really utilize the fact that this tank doesn't have great gun depression, and the last thing I want to do is just run into the ruins or the hills in the middle. I don't want to camp in this tank. It is just my personal opinion on the 263 that you really don't need to camp in it very often. Yes, it's capable of camping, and I don't think too many people will be mad about that, but personally, I feel like camping is really a waste of this vehicle's mobility potential because you have a mobile platform with great damage per minute, and I really like to use it like that. So I'm pushing up into the town here, and of course, only one heavy tank in E5 has been spotted up in the mid at the moment. So I'm going to make a play. I'm going to push up onto this staircase over here, which is actually not a terrible position for this vehicle because I'm semi-hull down here. And I don't know where the enemy team is, right? So I'm just going to wait it out here, see what the enemy team does. My entire team went into the town over here, right? So I have great support all around in theory, okay? In theory. And I'm just going to sit here and try and focus this E5. Now, a Chieftain Mark 6 gets spotted up on the right side. He is hull down there. Okay, he is hull down, and there's an E100 coming to support him. If you watch the minimap, the E100 is heading that direction, which means I don't want to push on that side, because a hull down Chieftain Mark 6 will have a field day fighting me when I'm sitting above him with 4 degrees of gun depression. I'm going to put a blind shot in here, which is great. That does pen, by the way. And now I'm going to start being a little bit more aggressive, deciding on what to do here. And here's where I make a mistake. The standard B in our spawn is not AFK, he's just driving in circles. I thought he was awake because I saw his tank moving on the map, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to push on these 2 tier 9s. I have a T92 coming with me, and there's a T57 who's pushing up as well with me. This was a terrible YOLO here. As you can see, the T57 just does not care at all about these tanks here. The T92 supporting me well, and of course the standard B is just having a good time sitting in spawn, moving in circles. So I put myself in a terrible spot here, and I'm going to die very fast. So this is what I say. Do not YOLO into 263. You saw how quickly I died there. I made a pretty bad YOLO there. I only did 2k damage. My team did win, but you saw how fast I died when I YOLO'd like an idiot. So that is a perfect example of how not to play the 263. Okay, don't do what I did there. Play like the first game or this game as well. So this is my 3rd consecutive battle in the tank. Now, surprisingly, I'm not pushing up right to support the heavies. I'm actually going left into the hilly terrain, which is contradicts everything I've just said about this vehicle about staying on flat ground. Well, no, it is always depends on what map you're on and how the enemy team is lined up. If you look at the enemy lineup, you'll see they have a mouse. They have an E100, a 57 heavy, and 3 tier 10 tank destroyers, right? We have a much more superior medium team. So I'm going to support the mediums. The last thing I want to do is push up on a bunch of super heavies that I have to sit in front of and aim for 10 years before hitting their weak spots, right? That is just not fun for this vehicle. So instead, I made the decision to go low and see where the enemy team goes before pushing. Now, I find the 263, and he did the exact opposite of me, which is he pushed up with his heavy tanks to try and kill the heavy tanks, which, to be honest, considering that his entire team went towards the seaside of the map, was not a bad idea, but he shouldn't have been so aggressive here. And he's losing HP really fast. In fact, he's going to be on 100 HP right about now. So as you can see, the tank gets deleted so fast when you push aggressively, as that 263 discovered there. And now, we have a bit of a difficult situation. We have 2 of our tier 10 heavy tanks isolated. Our gorilla, sorry, that was a grill, not a heavy tank, a TD and a heavy tank. Our grill's dead. Our E100's going to die really fast here. I was initially going to support right and wait for them to push out to kill the E100. Then I realized that's a terrible idea. They have 4 tanks there. My entire team's pushing their spawn. What I need to do in this game is push with my team and eliminate these 2 tank destroyers as quickly as possible, because the faster we can get these tanks out of here, the more my 3 teammates over here can turn their attention to deal with these heavy tanks. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I made the decision to push left instead of pushing right, which is very important. Now, I see the Batchat is pushed to my right, and he wants to push shots into me, so I'm going to turn my attention to him just so he does not sit there and shoot at me. And this is actually very good. I'm keeping this Batchat out of the game, and now I'm going to turn my attention back onto this girl. We're going to track him here, and he's going to get picked up, and it's going very well. Now the score is 3-2. So yes, we lost 2 heavy tanks, but in that time, we managed to pick up 3 kills on all of their tier 10 tank destroyers, right? And a lot of us are still doing very well in the hit points department. Now, as I know this map very well, I know this is a wonderful spot for the 263. If you have to push up and they have a heavy tank here, you can go into this position. I don't have gun depression to shoot the E100's lower plate, but also my lower plate is very hard to hit, especially with the fence there. The E100 shoots me, and here's the DPM at work. We're going to shoot him one more time, right? And he's still reloading, so we can put another shot into this E100 and then pull into cover before he can even shoot me. So the E100 shot at me once, and I dealt 1300 damage there. Amazing. And I'm going to continue this streak of just pushing up on the enemy team. We're going to put a shot into this mouse, and as I stated, I don't want to sit in front of these heavy tanks. Firstly, I would have to load up the APCR to reliably pen them, and if you take into consideration that the APCR is only 390 alpha instead of 460, that is hurting my damage per minute a lot. So instead, I'm going to push around this mouse, and it's going to work out really well for my team because that mouse decided he wanted to turn to me instead of, and ignore the 3 tanks in front of him. So my teammates all tap him for 1,000, and I put another shot into him, and his tank is out of the game. We have done 5,000 damage here, and if you've ever loved to see Russian gun handling, here you go. Enjoy. There's some Russian buys for you. I don't know how that shot hit, but you know what? Russia. Okay, so let's continue. We're going to push onto this Batchat. This game is already won. It is 5 versus 2. There's nothing this Batchat can really do here. I'm just going to try and push in and get some last minute farm. So once again, what happened during this game is I did not YOLO in like an idiot. I calculated what the enemy team was doing, and I pushed with my team in this situation, right? I couldn't find very many isolated targets except the targets that my team was pushing on, and I realized it was really important we kill those tanks quickly. And as you have over 3,000 damage per minute in this vehicle, you can do that very easily. So once more, 6,000 damage, a very good game to make up for the abysmal performance on Vineyards. And we're going to jump into a 4th game today. And this is also a consecutive battle because I decided, you know what, let's not pop in another game in the 263 for today's video. We're going to be on Canyon, and I'm pushing right once more. I don't like 263 on Canyon, to be honest. There's not very many good spots for it. You can camp, of course, but as you know, I'm not a fan of camping, and I'll only snipe if I have to, so I'm going to push right here. I can see my heavy tanks. In fact, a lot of my team is coming to the right side of the map. Definitely not going to go towards the middle because there's no way my tank with 4 degrees of gun depression will work in the mid. Instead, I'd like to push up right here. They don't have very good heavy tanks. They have 2 tier 9 heavy tanks and an E5. Tanks I can deal with relatively easily. And I'm going to push up here. I love this little spot here. So if you play this out right and you get here before the heavy tanks push up, you have gun depression here. Because of the way the hill is shaped, you can actually angle your tank down, right? So even though I only have 4 degrees of gun depression, by working these hills intelligently, as there's small hills in front of me, I can angle my tank on the other side of these small hills, still stay hull down, and give myself roughly 6 degrees of gun depression here. And I'm going to put a nice shot into this 183's turret. I know he has a bad reticle and bad aim time, so I felt confident aiming that shot, especially as he was still turning his turret. And yeah, you know what? Who doesn't love some more Russian gun handling? Let's just do a on the crazy snapshot into the top of his turret. And the 183 is out of this game, so now I'm going to start pushing up once again. I was thinking about shooting the VK4502B here, and then the T-54 decides he wanted to push in front of me, so I'm happy to oblige and shoot him instead. Once again, I want to target the tanks I can kill more quickly in this vehicle, and the T-54 technically is a bigger threat because he has the DPM and the mobility to get around me, so the faster I kill those medium tanks is the better. And I put a shot into this VK, and once again, we're pushing up. As you can see, I could have YOLO'd in this situation, right? But I didn't. Why would I want to YOLO here when they're giving me good shots, and I can just play it semi-passively? There's no way this T-92 can pen me, by the way. Unless he shoots a missile, which clearly he's not. He's shooting high explosives. So yeah, T-92 is going to go down real quickly here, and once again, I'm just going to try and shoot this T-54. He's hiding perfectly behind this little part of the hill, but I'm going to pull out sideways and get a nice shot into him, and we're just going to continue pushing up. So we've already dealt 4,000 damage this game. Once again, this tank has great DPM. And if you position yourself intelligently and you aggress on the enemy team intelligently, you can do so much damage in this tank. You can be so effective for your team. Now, I'm going to make a little bit of a mistake here. I made the assumption that this E75 would play a little bit differently here. The VKB is trying to make the E75 miss his shot, and he is unknowingly blocking all of my shots. So I'm just waiting for him to move here. Honestly, I should have just pushed around, but I do get my opportunity here to shoot the VKB, and we're just going to continue firing him. We've dealt nearly 5,000 damage. We're going to pick up the kill on this VKB and then push onto the grill. So this was a fast game. But you can really see how effective the DPM is on this tank when you put yourself in a good position, especially when the enemy team is all clustered up in one area. It's very unfortunate for them when they're in front of this massive amount of damage per minute this tank has. We're going to pick up the kill on this gorilla, and once again, we're going to break over 5,000 damage here, so almost 5.5k damage. A very good game, a very good set of consecutive battles in the 263, and I've had a ton of requests recently for this tank, and I think the reason is a lot of people are under the misconception that you need to YOLO in this vehicle, which I think is completely wrong, right? As all of these games showed you, I YOLO'd on none of them except for one battle, and the one battle I YOLO'd on, I performed abysmally. And that is the 263 in a nutshell. So when you play this tank, always be aware of what your team and what the enemy team is doing. Try and find those isolated targets that you can quickly kill, and consider if you're going to push onto a tank or two tanks or more, what are your potential risks? What could you lose by doing that push, right? What potentially could shoot you? And think about how that's going to impact the rest of your game. If you really consider those odds, I think it can help you stop YOLOing unintelligently in a YOLO in the 263, like I did on Vineyards as an example. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's how to play in the Object 263. I really hope it was helpful in explaining how I think this vehicle needs to be played. Please feel free to like the video and subscribe if you want to enjoy more awesome content to come. You guys are awesome, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Saeed on the mix.